So we're back working on the 755. So far the repair on the other side, that four-wheel drive, is working great. But today is actually a planned repair. We're doing a service, oil change. I got some of this because we got to do a little work on the hydraulic system. I'd like to paint this up just a little bit because we never did. And a good old-fashioned oil change with the fancy John Deere oil, because I'm sure they add special stuff to it. And I'm not talking about dollar signs. I'm sure there's some fancy additive. I'm just going to clean it up with some emery cloth. And we're just going to degrease it with some acetone. I got a bunch of extra pipe dope that ran down, kind of made a sloppy mess. I'm just going to take this little flathead screwdriver and try to clean her up a bit. Nice. Very nice. If you're wondering about all of this oil, don't worry, I know where that's coming from. It's definitely a problem that we're going to have to fix. It's just, you know, it's not today's problem. I was just looking down. Looks like I need to fix my forks real quick. That could have been bad. Can you imagine one of these forks just falling off into the fire? Be something, wouldn't it? Almost need something bigger than that. Just using a wicks replacement, which will be fine, just fine. If I had some clean fuel, I would fill the bowl first, but I don't have any clean fuel right now. I'm out of diesel. I'm gonna snug this fuel bolt up too. Why they didn't put two in here, I'll never know. They probably expected us to keep our engine mounts intact, honestly. Well, that's just not the case. It's just not gonna happen, bud. They probably both are at some point. You got fuel coming out of it. Gotta open up a bleed screw so it can let air out of the system. So the little pump down here can fill up the filter bowl. Just because there's a chance that some fuel came out of the backside there. I'll go ahead and bleed it right here at the pump too. Oh, she looks pretty strong and steady there, huh? This is a lock and lube grease gun. If you don't want to spend the money on a cordless, the lock and lube manual guns are pretty nice. It has a grease circ right there that you click back into. Of course, it's got the lock and lube tip. And what I really like about it is when you get on a fitting that doesn't take and you're trying to force it, if you can't get it and you need to get the pressure off, if you lift up like that, it releases the pressure back into the tube so you don't have to fight it. It's pretty cool. And if you ever get any fittings that don't take, just wiggle around a little bit, put some pressure on the pins a couple different ways. Change angle of the dangle, you can normally get them all to take. And they did all take, which is good. That one over there was the most stubborn one, but all of them took grease. Oh yeah, very nice, very nice. That primer should be dry enough. We're gonna hit it with a little bit of this tractor enamel paint, which is the same thing I used on this fender. Which is why I'm not too crazy concerned if it gets on the fender. Certainly not gonna hurt my feelings at all. Oh yeah, there we go, good. Now I could take the time to go through and mask these fittings, or I could spray it and then put a little acetone on a rag and just clean the fitting off real quick. Pretty clean line to me, good enough for what we're doing. Now while we let that dry, because that's going to take a little bit longer than the primer, remember the goal is just to keep those daggone pipes from rusting. I think that'll be fine. Got a hydraulic leak and it's on these fittings here. I never put any pipe dope on those, so I need to loosen those up and put some pipe dope on them. Now I'm pretty sure this is a JIC fitting on this end of the bulkhead fitting, and on this end it's just regular thread. That's where my leak's coming from. I've never had a traditional style of thread like this not leak if I don't use some sort of pipe dope or some sort of pipe thread tape. To have it whenever I put this together, which was probably over a year ago, and we've just been adding hydraulic fluid since, bud. I am gonna pop this loose just to double check that that is in fact a JIC fitting. Yep, that is a JIC fitting, so we're gonna leave those be. I'm gonna take some of that acetone and clean all of the oil residue off of these fittings and off the threads. I don't want any of that oil residue on there when I'm using that pipe dope. This is what we're using, Permatex thread sealant. New oil, new filter, new fuel filter, fresh green paint. I put a second coat on there. I think black paint probably would have looked a little bit better, but that should work for the job, which is rust prevention and hopefully no more leaks. Actually, I've been running it. I went out and ran it for about an hour, and that is completely dry at the bracket. There's still some oil residue down there, but until we do a good pressure washing, there's going to be. But everything looks really good. It is worth mentioning now, if you've got one of these tractors, there's some greasable spots on all the linkages for the pedals too. So since everything's mechanical on this, definitely want to make sure you hit those spots. I'm gonna let that second coat of paint dry overnight, then I'm putting this thing right back to work tomorrow in the morning. I hope you guys are enjoying the little spin-off channel. I hope you're enjoying the videos on Facebook, whichever one you're watching them on. I definitely appreciate your support either way. I appreciate you watching, and I will hopefully catch you on the next one.